This is Swarfcast. I'm Noah Graff. I am very, very honored to have my friend, Chris Armstrong, back on the show. Chris has been called the mad scientist before of machining. If you've followed the blog and the podcast, you will have heard of Chris. He's my guy for Citizens and Swiss and sometimes just philosophy. We've gotten to know each other really well over the last few years, and there's another blog coming up, and you're going to hear about him in that too. But without further ado, I give you Chris. Chris, tell us what you're doing.
Well, lately I've been just trying to focus on problem solving. I have been traveling the country for the past, couple of years, pretty consistent, coast to coast, helping people.
With?
Whatever. I mean, there's just and I guess we'll get into that too, but there's just been such a shortage of people that are available to help out with manufacturing problems. Mm-hmm. So there's been this vast need, or this like almost immediate need across a vast area. And so it's caused me to have to travel quite a bit at a rapid frequency. You know, I told a friend of mine, we were joking, I said coast to coast like butter and toast, right? Because it's felt that way.
And you don't fly, right? You're like John Madden?
No. It's too inconvenient with all the tools and extra expenses of having to rent a car again, you know?
So when you're traveling, what are you mainly helping people with?
So lots of maintenance. That's been a lot of it is
for what? For Swiss machines? For
in general. Machines in general, actually. Last year, I called it the year of the ball screw, because that's not a repair you want to do a lot, you know. And in the past year, I think I did like 24 of them, you know. And I thought about it, and I think a lot of it is because a lot of the equipment people invested in, you know, a decade ago, they still have in their shops, and a lot of it didn't get maintained for 2 to 3 years at some of these facilities. And then everybody goes back to work post whatever happened to us, and we fire up all of our equipments, and things just break, you know?
So you think that COVID had something to do with poor maintenance on machines?
Absolutely.
All right. I haven't heard anybody say that. So I'd love for you to give me your spin on that.
Well, I mean, it's just like I think it had an effect on international infrastructure as a whole. So there's one thing that you can, I don't want to get way off in the cosmos, but take a look at Detroit, for example. If you just leave a building there, Mother Nature will take back what is hers, right?
Yeah. You ever heard of what happened with Chernobyl?
A little bit about it. I haven't.
It's like one of the greatest wildlife preserves in the world.
Oh yeah, that's right. I have seen it. Yes, and it makes sense too, right? You know,
just left alone.
Yeah. And when I was in 7th grade, I had a Texas history teacher, Mr. Head. He was cool, and he told me. I asked him. I said, "Well, how long would it take for Texas to go back to natural landscape?" And he said it would take something like 300 years for it to all, if we left it alone, for it to all grow over. You know, I'm like, wow, that was when I was a kid, that was an eternity, you know?
Wait, how many years did you say?
300. I don't know if it's accurate, but that's what he told me at the time. to not touch anything and it just grow over and decay and be the natural landscape again.
So you're saying COVID happened? Because my impression of COVID is totally different. My impression of COVID was like 6 months goes by, people lay off people, and then people start hiring people back and wanting machines and
Sure,
going.
and you the shop supervisor sends a new crew out to the shop floor, and these machines that haven't ran in a year, they might not have been the same guy that ran it before. He walks up to the machine. He's going to give it his best shot, and we know that that doesn't always work out. You know, we're humans. We're gonna make mistakes, right? But warming the machine up, the poor maintenance when it was down, you know, it's just like any classic car, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to go start it up, charge the battery, change the fluids. Oh, excuse me. Things like that, they happen, right? So that's a very real thing. And I noticed a lot of repairs that the ball screw thing, it kind of uh, it stood out statistically, sheerly based off of the numbers and the frequency, the amount of customers in different locations that were having the same issues. The only thing I could put my finger on is like, well, all of these customers had a large uh, portion of downtime in the recent past, and you know, there's just so many variables to what could go wrong. I know that and also, I guess if I want to speak from experience to try to pinpoint why I ended up here is at Texas Swiss Factory in Conroe, we ended up with a.
All right. So tell everybody a bit. Give people a little reference. So in addition to being the guru, traveling the country, reviving everybody's machines and keeping them going, Chris also has had a production shop.
Yeah, for the past, what's this, 8, 9 years now? 2016? 8, 9 years.
Yeah, first we got in touch with Chris that way. They saw some machines on our website, serendipity, yada, yada. Sold them a M32 from
That's right.
From Dallas, and
That's right. It was right down the street, actually.
yeah, and then after that, relationship blossomed, and it turned out Chris also did service. That's his other background. Used to work for Citizen. Okay, so back to what you were saying at Texas Swiss.
We had a Miano lathe that, unfortunately, in the middle of COVID, there was some parts availability from Japan that we had to wait, and we had a part that's not a stock common thing to get replaced, to the tune of like 10 months. So this machine's set, and the part, I think it took more like a year, but we knew it was going to take a long time. A year by the time the part came back in, got the machine put back together.
A year.
Yes, yes.
So
the better part of a year.
Economy can change.
Yeah, you name it changed, right? So the part finally came in. We get the machine put back together.
From what dates?
I'd have to look back. I want to say this was 2021 over into 2022.
Okay.
Or 2022.
So
yeah.
So had the market heated up by then, and then you were like,
it was starting to cool down. It was very, it was about 2022-ish. Things were very rapid, frequently changing economically, and we had all these black swans, like economic black swans, I like to call them, Russia and all that stuff. So, part shows up, get the machine put back together, and everybody was excited. The next day or two, I think one of the machinists got around to finally like running the machine, setting it up. And this is a twin spindle machine. It had been sitting for the better part of a year. Everybody was so anxious to make parts that the machine didn't really get a thorough, you know, go through everything, right?
And why? Why didn't it happen? Because you were on the road?
Yeah. So, green button gets pressed, part begins to be manufactured, and every twin spindle machine or dual spindle machine will have a pickup procedure where the sub spindle synchronizes with the main spindle, and then it goes, the sub spindle reaches to grab the part and pull it out to a point where it's going to cut the part off together with both spindles. Well, at the point where the machine makes a rapid movement to the main head, um, the machine seized up the Z axis where the subspindle is just came to a full screeching halt. And so, of course, the machinist looks in. There was no crash or anything. It was just kind of frozen in midair, so to speak. They called me. I was out of town. I think I was out of state. And I came back, looked at the machine, and all I could find was it looked to be as it had an area of rust, and the machine had actually gouged into the guides because that rusted area was soft and it hadn't been checked and maintained. So, unfortunately, you would have had to really kind of been hanging upside down with a flashlight, and aware that this might be an issue when you fire the machine back up. Um, this is, I think,
So it should have had some kind of rust preventative on it.
yeah, or I think even maybe if the rust was there, um, and known about, we could have gone in there and polished it out before the rapid motion with the machine tool, and then gotten down to a smooth metal substrate and kind of repaired that surface.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of that kind of stuff. My friend, um, he runs a lot of like old Tornos decos, and his thing was got to turn it on because the wires can get brittle if it's
Oh,
just
that's
sitting
true
there.
too.
Is that something that you've run into? Or
Yes. Yes. The coolant, the oils, it really. Just last week, I worked on a star machine, and everything that had hydraulic fluid that had again set up, or oil that had set up and kind of dried and crustified, if you will. All the hoses and all the wires get very hard and brittle, and if you, they're basically one-time use, kind of, if you will, in that environment. And yeah, you don't want the wires to break. Um, you end up chasing ghost issues like shorts, electrical shortages, just from
what's
continuity, jumping from one wire to the other is silly.
yeah? Well, what's okay? So a lot of people did some dumb stuff, ball screws, rust, ball. We've been repairing a lot of ball screws, wires. So this is because the machine sat, and then why else? Because the talent uh, fell out.
So yeah, a lot of the people that might have been in their last 5 years, 10 years, didn't want to sit around and wait for 2 or 3 years.
So where did those people go?
They went doing other things or retiring. The ones that were very close to the end were just saying, okay, it's time to retire now. You know, I was 3 years, 5 years, 7 years from retiring. Let's do something now. Let's go ride a Harley. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
Take your stimulus check.
yeah, yeah, it happened, right? You know, and I think some of those people probably came back or just went and did something totally different, unfortunately, because the vast majority of them, though, sadly, have done something totally different because they're not around as a resource. They're simply not there. Um,
Are you talking? I mean, these are the older people, the
yeah,
people
the
with
older people.
the tribal knowledge.
Yes, yes, and you know it's very important. I can't stress it enough how much we learn from the people that we work with. Uh, a guy last week asked me, he's like, "Where'd you learn all this?" And I was like, "Well, you know, I just try to figure it all out." And he's like, "Well, why do you share it? You know, why do you do all this for other people?" And I said, "Well, I really feel that it's my duty to share my talent. You know, it's my duty to help others in general."
Also, you get better by doing it too.
Well, that's true too, right? And you know, but as humans, it's our human duty. Again, off in the cosmos. But, you know, he was a young guy and he's asking questions because he's interested in where this career can take him.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay, you've done service, you've done production. Um, it sounds like service is uh, excites you a little bit more.
it does.
I mean, you just think about it. Service, you're serving
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
versus,
It
I mean, making parts also can serve the world, but
sure. And I hate seeing mayhem. Many times I walk on a service call, it's mayhem, right? But I love seeing the comeback and the fixed machine and the dirtiness to something shiny. It's so rewarding, right?
well, how much can you fixing the machine change what's going on? I mean, can it is that only putting a band-aid on it, really?
Oh no. I last year
You think fixing a machine gives somebody a fresh start and then people will start managing it better and taking care of the company better if they have better
yeah,
machines?
I have
That's really interesting.
yeah, I have a local client that we actually did 5 ball screws, both spindles, both chucks. We rebuilt a machine from basically the ground up. Um, it took a long time. They saved it about 50% over buying a new lathe. Um, and yeah, they take a lot better care of the machine now. It looks a lot nicer too, you know.
Yeah,
It's a nice machine.
right. So even though the people are the same, um, it's energized them, it's made them
Yeah, it
want to do a better job.
absolutely right. You know, it's that particular machine had been on that shop floor for 18 plus years or so, running faithful production for these people. Um, so one of the gentlemen or a couple of the people were still had been at that shop for quite some time. However, over the years, there were some employees that made some mistakes and damaged some of the machines, and some of the things were compromised. And when we decided to strip it down and fix it, well, it was perfect timing to address all the issues along the way.
Do you let the guys follow along and or women and see what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I want them to understand what's important because, yes, it's how I make a living, but believe me, it brings me no joy to see a broken machine. Like,
Yeah.
I'd much rather just throw code in the controller and make it dance and do fun stuff than fix something that's been blown to smithereens, right?
Yeah. Um. Okay. So now, let's talk a little bit about um, production. You
Cool.
you've worked. Um, first you worked in production. That's how you got your
Yep.
start. Uh, and everybody can go back to the last podcast, and Chris has got an incredible story of how would you say machining sort of saved your life in a way?
Yeah. It gave me somewhere to put all that energy for sure.
Yeah. Um, so you worked in for production. You worked in production. You worked for Citizen. Then you started a company with a friend from sixth grade. How did that happen?
I thought about this last night. I was like, I wonder if we're going to summarize, recap, and
I mean, why? Look, you've told me that there's certain things that you have to wait for the podcast to come out at a certain time to bring
sure.
things out. But I think people find it fascinating if you're willing to share it with them. How how the shop came about, the good times, and then the reasons for a divorce. Basically,
Yeah.
our company, we had to make a divorce too, and sometimes the divorce is the only thing that makes sense. You were telling me the other day about all these people. I hardly know, or I hardly talked to anybody that I knew in the sixth grade. And your wife, you knew in the sixth grade.
Yeah.
Your
I
your
have I have several friends actually from
mm-hmm.
sixth grade. I still talk to them to this day. Um,
It's so interesting because you weren't in machining until uh, quite a bit
yeah, until I was a
later,
full grown adult.
right?
It's something that a career that I've kind of organically intertwined with all the people in my life. It's hard to say that and pinpoint an explanation for it, but
That's so interesting. That's so
it's
cool.
I've even let a friend of mine that basically he sells estate sales equipment and used machinery type stuff, not CNC equipment, but just
Mm-hmm.
stuff. He moves random equipment. And he was moving from Colorado to Texas and wanted to just have a place to set up shop. And we let him set up his resale shop in the back of our machine shop. Um,
At
you know,
Texas Swiss in
yeah, at
Houston.
Texas was, and another friend of mine from sixth grade that wanted to move back to Texas from Colorado, and it's just sure, like let's help drop your costs. You can sit back here and get new inventory and box it and sell it. So,
How did you guys decide? It's always interesting to get people's origins of their
I mean,
company.
I think that with the businesses that he was involved with at the time, he was ready for a literal just a change of pace.
Did he have a machining background then too, or
No
it was more of a business background?
business, yeah.
I gotcha.
And however, us growing up, we played with cars together. And so, ironically, when I think we were about 17 or 18, we were like, man, we should start a car club called The Machines. And nothing ever happened with it. It was just an instant in time that both him and I still recall. It was like, isn't that funny? We were talking about starting a car club, and now we have a machine club. Instead of a car club called Machines, you got to have a machine club to pay for your cars. So,
That's cool.
just irony, little irony things.
And then, so you guys made medical and firearms. Is that what you focused on?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot oil field,
Oil field,
energy.
because you're in Houston.
Yeah, that was a lot of the focus. Firearms because we're in Texas, more specifically Houston. Um, but we make a lot of different components. We saw a lot of jobs in the past 7 years that I didn't think we would see over there, which is cool. Lots of opportunity, lots of things changing, shifting. Um, and more so post COVID, like some of these parts, some of the problems that I'm anxious to solve, some of the new problems I want to resolve for the world. I feel like it's the next things in my book, right? It's in everybody's book, though. Again, what made it attractive is that it's going to help everybody. So.
Is thinking so much about solving the world's problems. Most people are just trying to solve their own problems, or forget them, or compress them, or repress them. So then tell me about these problems you're trying to solve. It sounds like, I mean, I'm asking you two questions at once. You've got these problems you're talking about solving. Um, it sounds like you had a couple things going on. You had Texas Swiss. You had your own service business, which seems to have occupied your time and your, and your purpose
Bandwidth.
and your bandwidth. And then now you've got these other problems you want to solve, both for the world and probably for your family, etc. So what happened?
In
And
my
what is happening?
Yeah, it's still happening. It's a very real thing, right? And I have a passion for cars, right? And we're gonna get in the time machine and go back 17 or 18 years real quick. And I meet my buddy, who is now my buddy, been my buddy, Mike, at I forget what racetrack we were at. And then I met him, we hung out at a Porsche Club event. And then we saw each other online in a forum. We start talking back and forth. We realized that we both actually live in Texas, and we both are machine heads.
And this guy's from 6th grade?
No, this is just a new friend I met 17 years ago.
All right, that's some time.
But there is a
How old are you now?
41.
Okay.
So there's some ironic 7 degrees of separation in this story later on, but at this moment we didn't know. So meet Mike. We start making little parts every now and then with each other. Never anything like serious or stressful. It's just I'm gonna make a part on the lathe for his car. He's gonna make a part on his mill for my car. That was it. That's his. We made some nitrous kits. We went to the Texas Mile in 2013 with a little 4-car crew. And here's where things get kind of funny. So we go down to Beeville, Texas, and we're all trying to break 200 miles an hour in our street cars. And we had machined these little, basically, it's like a tube and runner system for these intercoolers to freeze the intercooler system with nitrous. As the car goes faster, it stops taking air in the side, and air starts just going past the fenders. It's not actually coming into the intakes anymore. So the idea is that the driver could hit the button and freeze the air intake charge pipes using nitrous oxide because he doesn't have any actual flow at 150 plus miles an hour. So we spend all this time making these kits, and it worked well and it looked cool. But we never packaged it to sell it. We just did it just to go out there and try to go fast. And it worked. So at the end of the night, Mike's like, "Hey, we don't need to get a hotel, and we're out in Beeville. It's like the middle of nowhere." He's like, "My brother has a ranch we can just go at his property. It's about a 45-minute drive. So we all pack up. We leave the race cars at the track, pack up in just like some cars, and we drive over to his brother's property. And when I see Mike's brother, mind you, we've been hanging out for about 4 years now, and I hadn't met his brother yet, or so I thought. So we see his brother. He invites us all in. We get to the property. Everybody's tired. We're going to cook some steaks. And I can't figure out where,
Texas.
yeah, I can't figure out where I know this guy from. And then I tell him, I'm like, look, I know you from somewhere. Where is it that I know you? And he says, well, I own you ever been to the 19th hole? I said, yeah. He said, well, I own that bar. And so this was the watering hole when we were just drinking age, just barely able to drink right. And apparently I know him because he was the guy in the back room watching the surveillance cameras all night, making sure nobody, punched a hole in the wall or stole too many 25-cent hot wings, right? So,
All right. So then what happened? I'm on the edge of my seat. How does this
so,
guy figure in?
so fast forward, okay?
I know we're going to get into some serendipity here.
It is. It's all the people in your life, right?
Dots. You've got a lot of dots.
Yes. This is many years in the making, and this is don't discount any of your relationships, right? Take them for full face value. So, Mike, my buddy, had invented the orbital weld head many years ago, and he patented it, and he was pretty successful. He lived off of royalties, rights, this and that, whatever. And I didn't get much into that, but I know that he licensed it to certain companies, and they could use the design. And I made some weldments for him. Well, a couple of years, fast forward to, I think, 2017, he says, Chris, I'm going to need your help with some lathe projects in the future. He's like, I know it's going to sound crazy. It's going to be a couple years. But if this happens, then they're going to want me to supply these parts, and I'm going to need your help. I said, it's fine. No worries. I got you. He's like, all right. I just didn't want to sound weird because it could be 2 years, 3 years. So, we make parts here and there for him, at not expecting a flood of work by any means. We're just trying to help out. And a couple years go by, we didn't make anything for him. And then he called me last year and he reminds me, he said, do you remember what I told you about all those parts I might need you to make? He's like, yeah. Or I was like, yeah. And he said, well, we're going to be doing that, So.
Did you kind of go, yeah?
Yeah, I was kind of like, okay, well, but I've never let Mike down. He's never let me down. I've never let him down. Okay, I still got you. Well, things that we didn't see coming is all the economic crises, if you will, throughout the world. The war in Ukraine, right? The chip shortages in Taiwan, was it? Is it Taiwan? Yeah. And the way that affected every single thing. And so he calls me and he said, well, it's not actually to make parts. He's like, remember those parts I was gonna, I need you to make? I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, these major electronics companies started buying up mass amounts of real estate in Central Texas. It's happening. And this is something that we knew that needed to come. Mind you, 2017, nobody knew there was going to be a chip shortage. And he was already knowing that this was going to happen. So American manufacturing was kind of starting to understand, hey, we need to make our own electronic stuff. It was about that 2017, 2018. It was the thought process was happening. It wasn't until the black swans pushed us into okay, now we have to, right? We have to manufacture our own stuff, even if these companies are going to come from other sides of the world and invest in U.S. based manufacturing. It's got to happen. So, without saying a bunch of business names, just protecting things, entities, people, and stuff like that. All of a sudden, what started out to be a very kind of small need turned into a massive demand, and a demand, an actual demand, and I think that it's just I'm kind of grateful to have these people in my life to know these opportunities. Great harbinger. Hey, there's a storm headed our way. We need to prepare. Um, and God's been putting things. I like to, don't mean to get religious, but God's been putting things in my lap recently where they're kind of like obvious nudges, like, hey, if you don't do this, you're stupid, because I know you can do it. And here's an opportunity. It's very black and white. Take it, right?
Show me some of these parts you're going to be making.
All right.
You have some with you?
I do. Let's see which one I want to show you first. This one.
Yeah, you got to be very descriptive.
I can't see what you can see for whatever reason. I don't have a viewfinder.
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure out this stupid recording thing.
So
yeah, I can see it. I can see it, or part of it. So just describe it.
This is a tight tolerance, high pressure water component, and it's most commonly used for cleaning things.
What's it made of? How big is it? What's it got on it? It's got some flats. It's got some holes.
Yeah, it's got some precision holes. It's made out of 17.4 pH 900 stainless steel. And I think this one is 55,000 psi, 40 to 55,000 psi water pressure. So something that would definitely like cut metal if you held it close.
Mm-hmm. And what did you make that on?
A Star SV38R Type B Swiss type lathe.
Why did you use a Star? Because it was bigger than a Citizen?
That's what the customer wanted us to run it on. It's what we had.
I didn't even know you guys had Stars.
No, this is running it at the customer's facility to make these first fuse, and they have 3 Stars at their facility. So there's one of their machines that has basically no manufacturing process. I had about 3 programs on it, and this customer has, they said, 15,000 part numbers that have to be reviewed, and they only have 3 Swiss machines. So our work's cut out for us there. Basically, for every, it's probably 3 to 1, right? Or 1 to 3, really. They need 3 for every 1 they can make.
Okay. Sounds like you need a multi-spindle.
Yeah, pretty much. But what I've seen, unfortunately, until they get around their inventory scheduling, if you will, one of those inefficiencies is the job quantities. And I cringed when they said, hey, can you make 120 of these? I said, we're going to set the machine up for a day. We're going to tune it in for maybe half a day. It's the first time you've ever ran it. And then we're going to run the machine for 5 hours. And that's the reality of it. So that's another thing, death by 1,000 paper cuts. We don't want to see shops die in setup. You never get anything actually done.
Do you have anything that you're going to be making?
Yeah, I'm going to be making these.
Okay, you're going to be making
Yeah,
those with.
I'll be making these. Like I said, we're making some at their facility right now, but it's one of the first things I'll be making.
And are you going to be making those on the machines you bought from us?
Yes. Yes.
So that's 38 millimeters. So you're going to be using the DMG?
Yes. So
Wow.
you're going to like this one.
So you're going to be using a Sprint 32.5 DMG.
To make some of these high pressure water components. Yes.
So that's interesting that they'd be using an SV38. I mean, that's like way more machine
I
than.
think it's because it has the turret. That's why they went into that platform. Oh, it's way more machine than.
You don't need the turret, obviously, then.
No, just for deep drilling, it's nice to have. It's, you get an extra Y-axis, right? There's a lot of places you can pop tools on, and you don't need the turret for that part by any means. Some of the tolerances that they want to hold are kind of ridiculous, but
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So this next one is one, again, just like this part that I just showed you. This one I've been making with my buddy Mike, and will be making for him as we've done over the years, but we're about to make a whole bunch of them. And
is this for the chips?
Yeah, this is for the chipset assemblies, and it's weird because I want to remind you, this isn't for the actual chips. This is for what you need to make them.
What you need to make the chips.
Important. Yeah, to make the chips. That's why these parts are so important.
The picks and shovels.
Yeah, and we call them, for lack of a better term, tubes and cubes. And so these are little.
T's.
They're little T's and elbows.
It looks like something you'd make on a hydromat if you had enough quantity.
And they're made out of Hastelloy HC22. And it is just nasty. It's not the hardest stuff in the world. It is just nasty to cut.
And you can make that on a Swiss machine?
Yeah.
Are you going to be making it on one of the other machines?
Yeah.
You got from us?
Yeah. So I'm going to try to clean this bore out with the pipe cleaner right here real quick. So I can...
How are we doing on time? Probably got just a couple more minutes, right?
Yeah, just a few more minutes. I'll show you these, and I probably got to get going.
Well, we'll have to wrap it up, but
so can you see down this bore?
Yes.
So the surface finish requirements in all directions, we have to, off of the machine, we have to get to about, I think it's 3.5 to 4.5 RA in all directions and all walls. And after the machine, it has to go through a polishing machine and get electro polished down to a 2 RA and have a mirror finish on all inside surfaces. And this is with that crazy material. So I have to make that same part in a multitude of different sizes, but similar configurations: elbows, T's, 45s, and it's going to be fun. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, very cool.
And here's another one. This is a cutaway of this guy.
Interesting.
And this one has no holes in it because it was just from setup. So I had these. This one has holes in it. And this is 15.5 stainless steel. But these are 40,000 PSI cartridge components. And
What are
just,
you gonna be using? That was we sold you an L20, an A20,
yep,
and
these will
the
be
DMG.
A and L. So it'll work on both of those. And this will go on L.
Mm-hmm. And what would be the cycle time on something like that?
These will probably run in about 3 minutes. The material's kind of a pain. It could take up to 5 if we have unforeseen, get creative with the chips, getting them out of the holes. Unfortunately, that 15.5 likes to coil up, and it's not fun.
So, as we wrap up, what are you? What are the challenges you think you're going to run into now that you have this new venture? You're making stuff for chips. Sounds like you've got a couple people you really trust to do a great job. You know, you got a lot going for you. But what do you think? What are your the hurdles you think you're going to run into?
Well, the thing I'm most concerned with is the things that I can't control. Um, the black swans, the economic challenges that politics might bring, things like that. The uncertainties, unfortunately, affect uh, the necessary commodities, whether we like it or not. So, I'm actually hoping. It sounds silly, but hoping for some world peace, a little bit of stability. So,
Oh, good luck in this.
yeah,
You know,
I know.
with this schmagegi. No,
So
no.
I'm hoping that
You don't. I
people.
mean, I no. Nobody really has to know
Sure,
how I
no, yeah,
think.
nobody knows, but
Ha.
I'm hoping that we as humans can keep our eye on the ball.